Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Ascension Teachings. I'm your host Peter Maxwell Slattery, and today we've got a very special guest with us, Uluki Brendan Murray, King of the Raven Tribe. Brendan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pete.
How would you go into just giving people, I guess, a thumbnail sketch, like a quick overview of who you are, and we can sort of elaborate as we go through this, but just how your spiritual awakening experience happened for you? Was it something that was always with you?
Well, when I was born, I was hidden at birth. My mother actually hid my identity from the world. For whatever reason, she felt she had to do that. But in the 1970s, a lot of communities were very dark because of alcohol and drug abuse. And I was no different to a lot of the population being dragged through that part of our society here in Australia. But I was gifted a certain item that was placed inside my spiritual body when I was born, and it was an item that I found was safe to be beside. When the world outside wasn't so light and was very dark, I was able to travel within myself. And deep within us is a whole new reality. And inside myself, I found myself sitting by this big sphere that had a small red amber of light in its centre. And the world had conditioned me out of my own inner travels about the age of 9 to 10, when a lot of adults tell kids who see things and talk of things, don't be silly, that's not real.
Imagination.
Yeah, don't say that, and we don't do that to our children. We say, really, what did you see, and what did you think about it? And we get our kids to talk about their experiences instead of telling them they're not real or not happening. But the world conditions children into becoming what the world wants children to be. And thankfully enough, my inner child survived all of the trauma that was placed upon me as a human, I guess. And trauma is a funny word because it carries different weight. Like, I've met privileged people who are traumatized purely for the fact of privilege and didn't do it hard because they felt they was robbed of something. That they didn't get the chance to do it hard. And they're traumatized by that aspect, as opposed to someone who's been dragged through the crap and come out the other side, still not hating the world, still not hating people, and only speaking of love and acceptance and forgiveness. And my wife's constantly getting angry at me for forgiving everyone. Just on the weekend, on Saturday, I had a guy, I thought he was avoiding me at first at this market, and he sort of was. But then we had to cross paths, and I said, listen, I've already forgiven you, brother. That's my fault. I said, not only what you've just done, but what you're about to do. Now, I always forgive you, because you're not quite right on the path. And so forgiveness is just open acceptance of each and everyone's flaws, I guess. That, we're not perfect. The world was once, and we were attached to that. We were like passively perfect once. Because we understood nature a lot more, and not just the nature of the earth, but the whole nature of the universe around us, and the multiverse. So through forgiveness, what forgiveness does is takes away attachments, especially negative attachments and if we can't find to forgive, that's our ego holding us back.
Yeah.
And it's nice, but our ego is dangerous. Like really dangerous. And I try to kick the crap out of my ego every morning when I wake up, and even my wife says, things that sort of almost build me up, and I said, oh, look, no, don't worry about it. I'm nothing. You know? I'm not in here. I don't exist. I'm just in everyone's minds. And I said, so whatever I do, just blame yourself because you've all manifested me. That's how non-real I am. And keep forgiving. And in there is power over your ego, I believe. And just because you forgive someone doesn't mean they got to be back in your life being a menace.
Yeah.
You can keep them at a distance and say, this, I forgive you, but go on.
When did that beating of the ego to your own ego going, that's my ego, when did that start for you? Was it as a teenager, or was it you recognised it as a kid?
I was 40.
Yeah.
Like when it really hit home. That's because I ignored spirits, I ignored ancestors, I ignored the universe. And I didn't ignore it. What I'd done was, thought I was a bit better than my surrounds and the trees. I thought I was better than the trees, and I thought I was better than the animals, and thought I was human. And humans seem to be at the precipice or the top of the apex. But I find it's actually upside down. The pyramid should be upside down. We should be holding up the pyramid, the sharp end on our shoulders, while the rest of the planet's above us and not below us on the pyramid. It should be above us.
It's been inverted.
Yeah.
Like everything else.
Yeah, that's right. And we should turn the pyramid upside down and wear the burden of the world on us instead of ignoring it and pushing it back out there, being non-accountable for our thoughts and our actions. But in 2012, shortly after that solar eclipse, a lot of people went up north to witness. That item that I used to sit by as a child inside myself actually reactivated, and it dragged me back inside myself. And when I found myself inside myself in this different reality, I said to this item, this big sphere that had the glowing spark in it, which was no longer a little red amber. After 2012, it had sparked and there was geometric shapes in the light. And I looked at it and I said, yes, I remember you, because it has its own being, an own presence. And when I said, I remember you as a child, and then that's when my ego became attached. And my ego whispered in my ear like, that's yours, you own it. You got power, you got control. So here's the ego, he's yapping at my ear there.
Yeah.
And I listened. I thought, yeah, of course, if it's inside me, it must be mine. I must have power, control. So I actually manipulated the light inside this sphere, and it shone and made certain geometric patterns. And then all of a sudden it became cloaked with darkness. And then I found that I was invaded by these certain number of ancient earth entities or spirits.
Now, did that happen as a byproduct from that moment, or do you even know originally what that sphere with the amber thing, when it was in that state, do you know what that was? Was it like a blueprint of your energetic field, or was it another, like you said, it had a consciousness, was it another entity?
It's an attachment that's attached the creative father to the earth mother, the seed of spiritual humanity. And the ancestors told me that this was the only fourth time it's been carried on the planet.
So this was, in a way, specifically targeted for you. And so when it went black or darkness, was that something because of the ego or whatever it was, that's when it was infiltrated? Is that what you're saying?
Because my ego became attached, and I thought I had power, control, and all the things that's led our world into a traumatic world.
Yeah.
That's all ego, power, control. And so what happened when this, I later found out that they called it the Black Pearl. and there's groups out there looking for it, and religious orders, sex culture, all looking for the black pearl, but they're looking for the physical, not understanding that it's a metaphysical. They cannot get their hands on it ever.
You're related to royalty with the original people, is that correct?
Just with my grandfather's line.
Yeah.
And there's, in the old days, like when I say old days, that could have been just yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still not sure how time works.
Yeah.
And there's probably no point trying to explain time to me because I won't listen anyway. But, well, what happened, there's certain things happening that are a joinder for all the old world cultures to understand the light and the carriers of the light, and to acknowledge those who carry the light. Because acknowledgement is power as well, not for the ego, but for the greater human consciousness.
So didn't your great, forgive me, like how many grandfathers going back, didn't he lease Australia to the British Empire, which it was never rightly given back as well? So why I'm saying this, do you think that black pearl, which is why I'm bringing this up, do you think it was targeted at you because of the physical body computer that you've incarnated in? That's why it's been...
The DNA code.
Yeah.
Because I know, like with my grandfather's side and grandmother's side, my grandmother's side was very celestial, and my grandfather's side was very royal. And to talk about creators royal. But our technology or knowledge was beyond what most of the other tribes here talk about. When they talk about the different deities and the rainbow serpent. So the rainbow serpent to us is the child of the creator, called Biami, which is the great Pleiadian creator. And there's 9 serpents of creation, 7 rainbows, and one who is pure black and one is pure white, are the children of this Pleiadian creator. And so the world was designed that way in its first incarnation, because the world has been reincarnated 3 times over, and now it's just a memory, like archived, and that's what that item that was placed inside me, the
black pearl, the now black pearl,
is an archive, and in there was the recorded information, and this is how they showed me how come mother's called mother, and people say because we picked the fruit and that nurtures us, and I say yeah, that's all physical. You know? There's a greater, bigger spiritual picture that shows us who and why we call Mother Earth. And I think I might have told a creation story about the great Pleiadian who come down and with the 7 serpents manifested the black rainbow obsidian woman. And then when Biami, the creator, laid down, co-created with her, the 13 crystal beings who were all born on the earth. That
would be the crystal skulls maybe that's pertaining to that?
The real ones, yeah.
And I've held the Mitchell Hedges one before as well, And, interesting.
But there was 13 original crystal beings, and they inherited crystal from their mother, who was the rainbow obsidian woman, and got flesh and blood and hair and all things that make us human from their father, who was the king, and the mother's the queen. And that's another thing that they said to me too, that the king's coming to take his queen away, which is the earth entity is going to be taken off out of here and transported to a new world.
So, backtracking just a second, do you know the purpose of either the crystal skulls or when they had full body form? Was there a purpose for them?
Yeah. Well, when the earth as a whole spiritual system become self-aware and self-conscious, when nature identified itself as it being present, and even the trees are present, they're spiritual, they got spirits, the rocks are present, they got spirit in them, everything has spirit in it. And the moment that the earth spirits understood themselves and realised I'm not just a physical thing sitting here or looking in the water, that there's another me inside, and it's the spiritual side of me, not just the physical. And once the nature understood that, that's when the planet was able to be inhabited by a conscious bipedal people, being us.
Yeah, humanoid being. Yep.
So there was 13 crystal beings. The first one could be perceived as being the Christ body. That all human consciousness and spiritual existence was downloaded into the firstborn, which was a male, because the first humanoid of the earth was a female that was manifested. So to keep the ebb and flow, the firstborn had to be a male, then female, and down to 13 children. And the firstborn had the whole consciousness of humanity born into his presence. The next one that was born a female got her allotment through the firstborn, where as soon as she became in the presence, she got what she desired, and the third one got what he desired, and so forth. So there were 7 major tones, 7 major spiritual tribes, and they kept 5 aside for future humans to be allowed to be born and present on the earth. So we live in a symphony, universal symphony. So 7 major tones and 5 semitones, and the conductor was the embodiment of Christ, was the firstborn.
13th, would that be?
Yeah, or the first. And the others become number 2 to 13.
Yep.
And so out of 12 we get 7 major tones and 5 semitones. So we believe that there was 7 major groups of earthlings first, and then when they started to co-mingle and create new genetics on the earth, that's where the 5 semitones were already sitting there waiting to be harvested and born into physical, because their songs were already designed like semitones between species. So basically the 13 crystal beings that were born were recorded like a hard drive of songs, where it had so many songs inside them. There's an infinite number of songs. So we can have an infinite number of people born onto the earth and not be drained of energy. So it was very clever, I guess, to have the 7 major tones and 5 semitones for future reference. So yeah, and everything was known. There was no surprises to the creatorship. That's why the 5 semitones are there, waiting for the influx of other genetics from all different parts of the galaxy or universe to come here to be born.
This has been another episode of Ascension Teachings. I'm your host, Peter Maxwell Slattery, with Uluki Brendan Murray. Thank you.